I'm super excited to be with you today. I want to introduce Monique Eckes, and she is going to be doing one of our ISAPalooza workshops coming up. This is a super exciting one that I wish so badly that I could go to. She is going to be talking about photographing in Rocky Mountain National Park, doing information and insights, all about wildlife photography. And Rocky Mountain is one of my favorite places to go. I've been there several times, and I'm really excited for all of you who get to go experience it, especially those of you for the first time, with somebody like Monique, who is an expert at what she does and has spent a lot of time there. Welcome, Monique.
Hey, thank you. I'm excited. You probably know me. I'm a professional pet and people photographer, but the other half of me just can't help but go to Rocky all the time. I live very close, and I just absolutely love this and cannot wait to tell people all about like one of the best places on earth.
Yeah. What is one of your favorite experiences from Rocky Mountain National Park?
I just love when I can see the babies. So, when there's a baby moose, elk, all the different babies, and they could be there by the end of May when we have our class. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But I really love to be able to any chance encounter with wildlife is amazing. They have a huge park to roam around in. That they're ever even close to us is a miracle, I think. So I just love being close to them.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, the babies are always fun. They're so adorable. Like any baby animal, they have to make them cute because they're kind of a pain in the butt, but
Right.
It makes for awesome photography. So yeah, and just finding those relationships with the moms and just seeing how the packs or the herds, or depending upon the animal that you're photographing, of course, just watching those relationships between all of them kind of come together. It's super exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your workshop. So let's just be really clear from the start. Your workshop is at your studio, not directly in the park, correct? And why is that?
Correct. There's a couple different reasons. So there's a lot I want people to know ahead of time. That's really hard to teach while we're already up there at elevation.
Yeah.
And so I wanted it to be in a place because the weather in May could still be kind of iffy here in Colorado. So I wanted to make sure we could have this workshop, rain or shine or snow. So that's part of it. And to get all the background from everything and get people prepared to go into the park. And the other thing is I am not like a certified park tour guide. So there's different things you need to know, like wildland, CPR, first aid stuff. There's a bunch of things you have to do to be a tour guide there. And then just getting into the park and getting around. So I wanted to just concentrate on one thing. And the reason we're having it on a weird Tuesday, it's Tuesday, May 20th, is because timed entry tickets start at the end of that week. So I wanted to give people a day or two to go into the park after the class and not have to worry about that extra ticket. And we can talk about that too. So I wanted to kind of give best of both worlds.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be awesome because people will have the opportunity to really learn. And it's so much easier, I think, when you're in a location where you can have a conversation, where you don't have the distractions, or all of a sudden, like you're out there trying to teach and something amazing is happening. And then, which is awesome, but it takes away from that opportunity to learn in advance of what to expect and how to handle a situation. So I think it's such a great opportunity to spend time with you, to learn about all of that, and then the next day hang out and just go in as friends and just like photography friends and photograph together. And that's amazing. That's a great opportunity.
Yeah. So I didn't mention that. So if people do have time to go to the park the few days after that, we will be up there the next day, and you can join us as friends and follow us in your car if you want. So that's not officially part of the class, but I'm offering it because I can't help but go to the park too.
Right. Exactly.
So yes, I will have time up in the park.
Yeah, perfect. And just so everybody knows, also getting into the park, you can get a day pass, correct? Or you can do the America the Beautiful pass, which would get you into every national park in the United States for the entire year. And that's usually the best way to go if you think you're going to do at least one more.
And you can get a 7-day pass as well. So Rocky has those right at the gate. Yeah. It's better to have it ahead of time, I think. But you can get it right there at the gate, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And do you want me to talk about timed entry tickets just real quick?
Sure. Yeah. What the heck is a timed entry ticket?
A lot of the national parks have gone to extra types of tickets during the high season, the most visited time, just to cut down on how much impact we're making on these natural spaces and the wildlife that live there. And so in Rocky, how they've decided to do it is from about Memorial Weekend till end of October to have these extra tickets to make sure they have enough capacity in the park. So timed entry tickets start Memorial Weekend, a few days later. And that is just, you have to get that online at recreation.gov or call them. You cannot get that at the gate. And you have a 2-hour block of time to get in for a majority of the park. The main park, it's only like 9 to 2. You need those timed entry tickets. There's another part of the park that is the Bear Lake Corridor, which is very, very popular because of all the hiking. And that is about 5 or 6 a.m. till 6 p.m., somewhere around there. But you can come in outside. It's a 24-hour day park. They don't close this park at all, which is really cool. So for anyone that's going to come and stay the whole weekend, I suggest right now get a timed entry ticket or just plan on being there, before or after. Sunrise in the park is amazing and there's nobody there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even in the high season, like if you're there at 5 a.m, there's very few people there. It's magical.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And
So
even
that's
overnight, I've been there overnight and done amazing night skies in Rocky Mountain. Like
oh,
my cell phone screen photo is a night sky from Rocky National Park. Yeah, it's
oh my
awesome.
gosh. Yeah, some of the astronomy clubs even meet up there for that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an amazing place. So
Yeah.
so your workshop is focusing on wildlife photography. That's kind of the goal as animal photographers. That's one of the things that ISAPalooza is all about, is getting better at photographing animals. And so tell us a little bit about the animal population in the park and what can people expect and hope to see in the park, fingers crossed.
And hope to see. I've got all of my paws crossed, right?
Yeah.
I like to start with a caveat that these are wild animals in I think it's 400 square mile park. They could be anywhere. So it's not a zoo. We're not guaranteed to see anything. That said, it's shocking how often you can see wildlife. And so I know the places to see a lot of them. We've actually written a photographer's guide to Trail Ridge Road, which may or may not be open that day.
Right.
So they try to open Memorial. But if you want to stop by stop, like mile by mile from the Estes side, the Front Range on the east, all the way up to the visitor center, I have a guide like that people can just have. And so I kind of know what's going to exactly be or potentially be at those places because that's the conditions they like. Yeah. So there's a place called Sheep Lakes, and guess what? You could maybe see bighorn sheep in there. Yeah. So bighorn sheep are something you're going to see in there, potentially elk, of course, deer, coyotes, moose. Moose used to just be more on the west slope on the other side, but they are a lot more on this side now. Some smaller birds like, ravens, hummingbirds, not as much birds as you'd think, actually. I'm always kind of surprised about that. Turkeys, you'll see a lot of wild turkeys there, but the elk and the moose are a big one. Coyotes are a big one. I've seen fox a couple of times. And some of those are kind of random, and like things like moose, they like to be around water. So every time you're around water, you kind of have your eye open for moose. So there's a lot of cool, different wildlife to see up there.
Yeah. And I'll say too that if the wildlife isn't around, like if you kind of strike out or don't see a lot, oh my God, the landscapes. Oh my God, the landscapes are gorgeous. So there's always a backup plan. There's always a backup plan. So you can't go wrong.
I always like to say there's no bad day in Rocky.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's windy, snowy, hail, all in the same 5 minutes. There's never a bad day in Rocky. I have some of my favorite places. You get pizza down at Antonio's, bring it up, sit on this rock, my favorite place to look at so I definitely have my favorites around there. And I mean, if you sit still long enough, like any kind of wildlife, you're going to see something. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm so excited about that.
It's interesting that, you mentioned that there are fewer birds than what you would expect. I've actually had really good luck photographing birds there and things that we don't have in Minnesota. There are some bluebirds, but not a ton, but like beautiful bluebirds. And this time of the year, I'm not sure if they migrate, if they're back yet or not. But Stellar's jays, I think they're beautiful. I always call them my nemesis because I've yet to get a good photo of them. And they're beautiful and they're there. And yeah, one of these days gonna get a good shot. The magpies are everywhere.
Oh,
And
true.
I know like people from Colorado are like, it's like a crow. A
No.
magpie's like a crow, but we don't have them in Minnesota. So it's super cool to see them. So there are, I think, some really good opportunities for birding as well.
I
And
forget.
especially if you're coming from outside of Colorado.
That's true. That's true. And the Clark's Nutcrackers, and there's some other ones. But I feel like sometimes I'm down here in the prairies and there's so much more to see for birds
Yeah.
that I don't think about. I'm always thinking large animal when I go into the park.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are a lot of
other
opportunities. Yeah.
The one thing I do want to talk about in my class, it will be about safety around these large animals.
Yeah.
You'll get people who don't understand we see that all the time on social media, like, oops, even though it's friend shaped, it's not friend.
Right.
Exactly. So keep your distance. There's a lot of things I'm constantly, when I'm up in the park, like, hey, there's a baby moose about to come on this trail. Just stay over there for the next hour.
Right.
Because it takes them forever to cross the trail. But people go, haha, that's so funny. You don't get it. Moose will charge you. So I want to talk a lot about safety and sharing the space with animals. So that'll be a big part of my class too.
Yeah, nice. And I know like when I'm out photographing wildlife, it's always really cool to see a wild animal like kind of strike a pose as if I would be posing them in my studio. And so is that something that you're going to talk about too, is like what makes an interesting pose with wildlife, or the like lighting that you should look for with wildlife? Like, can people expect to learn a little bit about that as well, and behavior perhaps?
Yeah, I love photographing behavior, especially. Like, maybe it's because I've been up there so much, like, oh, that was an okay elk picture. But if they're doing something, like during the fall, they do the bugling. That's the mating season and all that. That has some very interesting activity. Moose, when they're in the water and they flip their head up and they have this water, but you got to be there at sunrise to get that backlit water.
Yeah.
So I hadn't really thought about the posing aspect, but kind of framing. And also that kind of comes into play with the equipment you have. So if you say you only have a 70 to 200 lens, great, get the environment, get the mountain scene behind that animal. So some of that's a framing thing and making sure they're not like looking away from you. There's so many that's looking away from you, kind of like birds when they start to fly away. It's not as nice a picture as when they're flying towards you, right? So we'll talk about some of that. You don't have to have the super longest big honking lens, but you can rent one if you really need one.
Yep. Perfect.
I
love it.
I will talk about that a little.
Yeah, sweet. That's perfect. Yeah, like I said earlier, I think it's such a great opportunity to learn about wildlife and from somebody who's done it so much and in an environment that you're so aware of and so comfortable with. And that's, gosh, the first time I went to Rocky, I wish that I would have had that. So I really hope people take advantage of this for like $99. It's $99 to register for this workshop. That's amazing. So yeah. So what kind of equipment should people bring with them? For your workshop, which is in your studio, I assume they need note-taking materials, but what about actually photographing in the park? If people do decide to stick around the next day, what should they have with them?
Everything. Because I mean, this is a wildlife class. We're going to see what we can. But if you're anything like the rest of us, you like all kinds of photography. So you're probably going to want something that'll also get a grand landscape. I mean, you could do a pano of that and stitch them together, but I would say the longest lens you possibly have, and then something in the middle. These are huge landscapes. So even a 7200, you're going to get a good landscape picture because it's so vast. But if you're really concentrating on wildlife, the longest lens you possibly have, or rent one. I have a 70 to 200, and I also have a 200 to 600 that I have, and we have a teleconverter too if we want to get a little extra reach on. And that's helpful on a bright day because your aperture gets cut. But I also love to take up my 2470. And you're not going to get that close to the big animals to really fill the frame with them with a 2470. But if you want to get that whole scene at sunrise or something, because you will see animals at sunrise and sunset. And so that's a gorgeous time to capture the surroundings. And then if that equipment gets too heavy, a tripod. I just am not a tripod girly. So I have a system like for raising that honking lens,
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
heavy lens. But if that's tiring, you can stick it on a tripod. So that would be good to have as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And
really
that's a
beyond
really
that,
good point.
yeah.
Yeah, I usually have my tripod with me when I'm out shooting wildlife because and like I've got a ball head and I just leave it loose and that way the weight goes on the tripod, but you're still you can still move the camera around pretty freely. And that's been
Yeah.
super helpful. So yeah, I
Yeah.
recommend a
My
tripod.
husband's a tripod guy.
Yeah.
So Steve will bring up tripod all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I steal it.
That's funny. Yeah. And if
Yeah.
not a
So
tripod, a monopod, like that same idea,
a
just to kind of
monopod,
bear the weight. Yeah.
that's true because you could be more mobile with a
Yep.
monopod
Yeah.
to follow the animal. And some of the animals are large animals that move a little bit slower, which
Hmm.
is easier, especially if you're a beginning photographer. You're not trying to track a hummingbird
Right.
necessarily.
Yeah.
So these bigger animals are a lot easier to photograph. So you'll
Yeah.
feel a lot more accomplished
I
at
love
this
it.
kind of workshop.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, where can people find out more about you and see your work and kind of get to know you before the workshop?
Okay, so I have my Silver Pot Studio. That's my pet and people photography, and I'm talking about this workshop. But if you want to see all of this, you can look at my Cattail Chronicles YouTube channel and Instagram. We don't do weekly videos anymore, so there's not something super recent except a video I did for this class while we were up in the park. But Cattail Chronicles, I'm looking at my playlist, and just for Rocky, I have 300 videos on there with my husband and I. Just for Rocky, there's 24 videos just
Yeah,
about wandering around and enjoying the park.
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
ton in
that's
there. If you're ready to go, by the time you get to this class, have some idea of what the places look like, how to prepare for high elevation and high desert. All of that's in our Cattail Chronicles YouTube.
yeah, that's perfect. Let's touch on the elevation for just a minute before we wrap things up here, because that is one of those things I think that people don't often consider when traveling and going to basically where you're going in the mountains. I mean, this Rocky Mountain National Park, it's mountainous. What is it? Do you know off the top of your head what the elevation is roughly?
11,000 probably. I think
Okay.
Estes Park is 7,000. I'm about 5,200 here. So
Yeah.
the workshop will be at 5,200 feet.
Yeah.
We'll get partway up there to Estes Park, and that's about 7,500. And then when you're up in Estes, probably about where we'll be, it's 11,000 ish,
Yeah. And so that
which is
makes
too much.
it makes a difference. The elevation definitely makes a difference. You feel it. What should people expect when they get into an environment like that if they're not used to that elevation?
Yeah, shortness of breath for sure. You might climb 2 steps and go, gosh, why am I out of breath? Why am I out of breath? And even people who visit here a lot, they forget that when they first get here. And you just have to remember, no matter what shape you're in, it really has to do with your red blood cells adapting over time. And so you could be in really good shape or really not or whatever. And elevation, people handle it differently. So if you start to get headaches, something like that, there's a bunch of things to know. But really, before you even get here, drink a ton of water, like way more water than you ever think you'll need. Bring some Tylenol or ibuprofen, some kind of anti-inflammatory, because you'll probably get a headache. Having the workshop at a mile high to start will at least give your body that one day. If you
Mm-hmm.
can get to Denver the day before, as much time as you can give your body. And then when we're up there, you're going to be thirsty, drink a lot, eat,
Yep.
make sure you eat, and just slow down your pace if you need to. If you start to get a bad headache, go to lower elevation. So it is weird because it's extra dry too. So it's high desert and high elevation. So you're going to be able to really dehydrated like a lot.
It's crazy. I'll tell you a really quick story as it relates to elevation and what you're talking about. So one of the first times that I was there, my goal was to see a bull moose. I wanted those antlers. And so we saw moose, but they were all the females and we saw some babies and it was really cool, but there were no bulls. And so we were at Sprague Lake, which is up the Bear Lake corridor, which you were talking about. And
Yeah.
off to the side, I was walking to try to find one of my friends that I was with. And all of a sudden, like in the woods, I'm like, holy cow, it's a bull moose. And I had already put all my gear in the car because we were wrapping things up, and I was just going to find them so that we could go. I'm like, oh my God. So I run back to the car, grab my gear, and I'm running back. And oh my God, I was sucking wind so hard. My lungs hurt. Like, I'm like, I can't, I'm not a runner to start with. And then to run at that elevation, but man, I wanted that picture so badly. And by the time I got back with my real camera, I got a cell phone picture, but my real camera, he was gone. Like, dang it.
They're so fast.
Yeah. Yep.
When they want to be.
Yeah, just one of those little ponds, and I'm sure you know exactly which one. As you go around counterclockwise, there's a little pond on the side,
Yes,
like past that little hill, and I've seen several moose over there. Like that's kind of my favorite place to look. So
because they come down that creek there in the willows, and then they come out, and they'll often come at that side. Well, here's a picture of Sprague Lake at sunrise, and so where you're talking about is over here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And you can get, like, if you get the right perspective, there's a little bridge there that you can kind of stand on. And then you get mountains in the background. And oh my God, it's just.
And they've rebuilt that bridge. So it's a little bit bigger now. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So fingers crossed. Like I said, I wish I could go. I'm so excited. Yep.
Sometimes you could see a moose, like right in here.
Right in there. I have almost that
one of those pictures printed. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been my favorite place for moose. And then, like you said, on the west side, I've had luck over there as well. Mostly again with the females and not so much the bulls, but they're around, and it's an amazing place to see them. So I love it.
And speaking of the other side of the West Slope, Trail Ridge Road may not be open that time of year. So a lot of people travel out here thinking, oh my gosh, it's summer. I'll stay a cheaper side on the West Slope and then just drive over Trail Ridge. It may not be open till July.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind.
And it's a very long drive around.
Yeah. It's a very long, couple hours, at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
So if you're going to stay in the area this time of year, it needs to be on the Estes Park side.
That's a really, really good piece of advice.
Yes. I'm hoping part of it will be open for the workshop on May 20th. They'll try to open a good portion of it in advance of the big weekend.
Yeah. Do they still have a live camera up at like Trail Ridge at the top of the mountain so people can kind of see online how much snow there is, and any idea?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. I haven't checked that in forever, but the Alpine Visitor Center will be full to the rafters of snow. Yeah. They're huge. They did have a picture online of them carving out the road, and the snow is like 2 stories high. So you go to drive down this tunnel of snow. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I have a picture of me standing next to the wall of snow, and
oh my gosh,
it's pretty fun.
Wow.
So here's hoping that'll be
yeah, exactly. That would be really interesting to see this time of year. So I love it. All right. Last thoughts for people.
Especially for people who come from a warm place, like, wow, there's still snow in May.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So final thoughts for people. What do you want to leave them thinking about? What's the most exciting thing? Like what's going to compel them to sign up for your workshop?
If you've ever wanted to go to Rocky and experience it, like, this is your chance. I'm going to just spill everything that I know. Absolutely any question you want to ask, anything. I want to tell you all about it. It's my favorite place on earth. Every time I go up there, I want to cry, like, I'm here. I'm really here. Pinch me, and you will get that feeling. And I am just so enthusiastic for you to see it for the first time. And I can't wait to share it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm jealous, and I wish that I could come because it truly is an amazing place. It really is. So I hope that people take advantage of this opportunity and get signed up as well, and really enjoy the park like you obviously do, and that I have as well in the past. So, and I can't wait to get back there again one of these days. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon and chatting a little bit about this, and just your excitement and enthusiasm for it. So can't wait to see what people do.
All right. Well, thanks for this opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.